Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy. Most brush it off or blame themselves, saying things like, I lost my mojo, or they make excuses. Sorry, honey, I had a long day at work. I'm not feeling it. Guys, with Roman, it's easy to talk about. With a real healthcare professional who can prescribe real medication. It's simple, safe, and totally discreet. With Roman, you can get a free line evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship it to you with free 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, simple, and discreet. Getting started, just as easy. Go to GetRoman.com/Chael. Complete an online visit. Go to GetRoman.com/Chael today. If approved, you'll get $15 off your first order of ED treatment. Let's unpack this. Nate Diaz. So, got to insert myself because I get a text from Nate. Before I go any further, at the end of this text exchange with Nate, I say to him, is anything here private? He says no. So, to release that, get a text from Nate, and he asks my opinion. And that right away makes me feel good. I like when somebody wants to know what I think, but I'm also very strategic within my thoughts. I think I'm a good guy to ask. I love Nate Diaz. Nate's never asked me my opinion, and I said that to him right off the bat. I said, Nate, in all these years, you've finally come to the master. And he gives me, the thumbs up emoji, something along these lines. So we start to have a conversation. Now, I felt as though I was armed without Nate saying it, with a large part of the story, which you guys all know because it's been posted online, which goes something like this. Nate has one fight left in his UFC deal. He would like to honor that fight. He would like to be a free man. Now, unlike anybody else that has ever been in that spot, particularly publicly, he's not looking to go and do MMA for somebody else. He's not even complaining with his UFC contract, saying he's unhappy, saying he was mistreated. None of that. He believes, according to the internet, that there's an opportunity to go and box Jake Paul. Now, I also spoke to Jake Paul in this. Stay with me in the story. Parts of this gets confirmed because Dana comes out as recently as the post-fight press conference for the show over the weekend and says Nate has one fight left on his deal. Dana doesn't get an asked-up follow-up question. He does not elaborate on that. But for the one question that Dana was asked, which was that, it's right in line with the rest of the story, just as you guys have heard it. So when I'm talking to Nate, okay? Nate's saying, who do you think I should fight next? More importantly, why? Who do you think, but why? And one thing that I did gather from Nate, and not just in this conversation, but previous conversations with Nate, is Nate doesn't know how big of a deal Nate is. It's probably one of the reasons you guys all love him, and he stayed grounded, and he's one of these famous MMA guys that's made a bunch of money that you never read about for doing something bad on TMZ. He's just not a scumbag. He does not have his head in the clouds. He does not need to be grounded. He's the same guy today as he's always been, in the same town of Stockton, still teaching kids jiu-jitsu, right? He's just the same guy. As cool as that is, if you lose touch a little bit with your place, it can be tough on the why, right? Because he asked me two things, who and why. Anything Nate does is going to be big, guys. Make no mistake. The order is extremely clear. The three biggest draws in MMA are Conor McGregor, still, George Masvidal, Nate Diaz. And that 2 and 3 is a very close split, but I only bring that to you because whatever Nate does next is going to be a big deal. We get that. We agree to that. Leon Edwards, by example, that fight made next to no sense for us, the viewer. We're going, wait a minute, Leon's great, but he's not a recognizable name. Nate is this huge star who's going to need a partner. One thing that Nate Diaz and George Masvidal formed was a partnership. They don't get along to this day. That rematch to this day could jump off in a hotel if they pass each other. But they were partners. Nate had something very special, and he extended that to Masvidal, who also did his end of the bargain. bringing attention. The presence of The Rock at that fight has been credited to Masvidal, and I have no reason to disagree with that. So Masvidal also brought something. They were partners. I don't feel that Nate had a partnership with Leon. I don't think any of you guys disagree, and I'm only bringing Leon into this using the past as the greatest trajectory to the future, because when I'm talking to Nate, he keeps talking about Luque. And I finally said to him, Nate, why do you want to fight Luque? And he said, because of the number next to his name. So now we're in a situation where I'm going, hey, look, that's a tough night out. Luque's a tough night out for anybody. Ask the last 7 guys. 7 of those guys, and I don't believe 5 of them made it to the distance. Nate, why do you want to become the number 1 contender if you're not going to use the contendership? I don't say these things to him, okay? This was all a text message, but I'm thinking that, Nate, like any fighter, you want the biggest bang for the littlest effort. Very hard philosophy to fulfill because this sport is so difficult, but that's still what you're looking to do. The biggest bump you can get for your name and your brand and your market, for your paycheck and your ego and your legacy, for the least amount of effort. That is not Luque. Why take the risk if we don't want his spot? Luque, I went and looked it up. He's got a beautiful number. It's 3. Did you guys know that? Luque's ranked number 3 in the world. So why do you want that? And I can live with the answer, whatever it was, but this is still the question. If you're just looking to fulfill your contract. So Nate had brought Tony Ferguson's name up. Tony Ferguson checks a lot of boxes. I mean, the nostalgia of that fight alone. And you can really judge that at, say, a weigh-in. Weigh-ins are free. Anybody can come if you guys have ever attended a weigh-in. We got 2,000 seats to fill up. The first 2,000 people, come on in. Have a seat over there. And when you look at how many people will come to that at an off hour like 4 o'clock, on an off day like Friday, it's really remarkable when you can sell out a weigh-in, when you can fill up a weigh-in. Nate Diaz has done that multiple times. I was at the weigh-in he had in Los Angeles when he fought Anthony Pettis. I have never been to a weigh-in like that in my life for the reception that Nate, and only Nate, received. The heavyweight championship of the world was contested. I'm not saying the reception everyone got. I am saying the reception Nate got. They walk out to that ring. I mean, this thing is going to be massive. What happens on the other side? No one knows. We can only begin to guess. But if you're trying to be strategic, you have to try to make these guesses. So now it's my turn to submit a name for Nate. You guys want to know what name I put out there? I think this might surprise you. You ready for this? Paul Felder. Paul Felder checks a lot of boxes. If Nate is going to fight for one big last send-off, and we all acknowledge, we all want to see it, and it's going to be a big deal, I don't know that anything needs to be at stake. Egos, legacy, reputation, ranking, contendership. I don't know that it needs to be. It's a very unique spot for the UFC that only puts on meaningful matches. They're going to do what that's fun. And every now and then we get to have fun. It's very rare in the UFC. It's about meaning and purpose. Sometimes we get to have some fun. And I felt as though Paul Felder checked that box. Nobody loses anything. Nobody loses a ranking. Nobody loses esteem. I like the X's and O's. I even like that they're both triathletes. I feel as though we could have a whole triathlete angle to this watching these guys prepare. But this is the name that I submit. I'm justifying, in case some of you didn't like that name, I'm justifying where I came from. And I don't know how helpful Nate wants me to be at this point. When he comes to me, I want to be completely helpful. It's the first time he's asked. I want to do it just right. And I can reach Paul Felder. I can reach Dana White. I can make, single-handedly, I could make this thing happen if I'm understanding everybody correctly. So Nate says, let me sleep on it. That's where we leave off. Thanks, Chael. I'm going to sleep on it. I wake up the next morning. I get up early every day. I've got a text already waiting for me. It says 2 words, Tony Ferguson. So it's at that point that I go to Nate and say, is any of this private? And he says no. And I said, all right, I'm going to do my part. My part is to get the word and the story out. But Nate was never overly candid in confirming He wasn't trying to avoid this. I don't know that I asked my question to him directly enough in a text. He was never overly helpful in confirming the rumors to be true that he would like to exhaust this contract so that he can go and fight Jake Paul. So that, when I told you I talked to Jake Paul, I went to Jake. Here's what I think. Do I have it right? Jake said, yeah, you got it right. Jake said, that's the fight. I'm tired of fighting these old guys. I'm tired of not getting my credit when I go whip some stud's ass. I want an active, busy guy that everyone knows. That's a hard night out and nobody can take it from me. I'm changing Jake's words. But I'm very close, and I do know what his meaning was, because he is sincere. Jake is very sincere in this quest. Okay. Hey, Jake, by the way, what does that do to this Fury kid? I was told that that's done. And Jake said, first off, I would pay him to sit aside, and secondly, it's not done. All Fury has done is price himself out of this match. I'm looking to move on, and if you're asking me for a straight shot, if I had a chance at Nate and I would do it, yes, it would be Nate. Okay. There's the story. I don't think I shared anything with you guys that was new. I've confirmed things you've heard and beliefs that you've had because of the things that you've heard. I don't believe I revealed anything new. None of that can just happen, guys. None of it. There's another arm. There's a mechanism. If we're all in agreement and Dana confirmed that Nate owes one more, when is that one going to be given? If Nate and Jake want their way, it would be given tonight. Done and free. We can book this, move on, and go into our piece of business together. Is that going to work for the other side? The other side has a guy. They like the guy. The guy is their number 3 most marketable, monetizable athlete they have. And an athlete only has one commodity, which is the performance. So is it going to work for the other side? We don't know this yet. We don't have any reason to believe that it won't, but we don't have any confirmation that it will. And I still maintain, why not bring the other side along? I look at the things that happened over the course of the UFC. Network television deal with Fox. Their own digital platform known as Fight Pass. And now the ultimate step, which is the worldwide leader of ESPN. But I never saw Dana leave anybody else behind. I never saw Dana try to carve somebody else out. And at the same time as one of these broadcast deals took place, Dana had absorbed the WEC, he'd absorbed Strikeforce, and he absorbed Pride. So he has a whole new set of athletes that were big, monetizable, recognized, highly ranked names. He took his own guys that had already been there, had already done some heavy lifting, and already set the table, or at least helped, and he brought them when he elevated, and it just makes me wonder, why aren't we trying to bring, right? The worst kept secret in combat is that Dana White likes boxing. That is the single worst kept secret, that Dana would like to do something with boxing. It seems as though there should at least be the conversation of, do I need to exhaust my contract and fulfill my obligation to you, not attempting to hide what it is I would like to do, or can we do this together? I owe you one, but the time is now for this other thing. Is my word good? I've been here 10 years. Is my word good? Because if you let me do this other thing, I'll come back and do this one for you. And we could even go do this together. I just feel, if that conversation doesn't happen, even if it falls on its face, if it does not happen, it will bother me. On an ethical level, that'll bother me. But I would also wonder, why not? Why wouldn't have that happened? I'm going to leave it at that. More to be told. Very confident in predicting for you guys, Tony Ferguson accepts the challenge of Nate Diaz. Very confident. I speak with Tony regularly. I didn't even ask him. I know the answer to that, and so do you guys. The answer is yes. But when could that get done? Tony's got to go up to 170 pounds. There's some moving parts. Hard fight. Lot on it. Likely to be 3 rounds unless they make the Diaz-Leon exception and go to 5. I feel that it will be reserved for a pay-per-view card. 2 guys who are masters of jiu-jitsu, and that's a very important world to them. When you get one jiu-jitsu ace and he puts it on the line against another, like the sensitivity in failure in that world is nothing like we relate to in MMA or even boxing or even amateur wrestling or judo or any other form of combat. It's a very unique, intrinsic risk that they would both be taking. Look, the story tells itself. I think we're going to be discussing it soon. I think that direction it's going to go. But I think if the piece isn't included and fully discussed and disclosed, that the final decision maker has an ability to, at a minimum, slow this down. That's not good for anybody. So have the conversation. That's my final piece of advice.